You're listening to REIA Radio, the nationally trusted name in real estate investing. We dig deep to discover investors' why in real estate. If you want to skip all the BS and get in investors' heads, you're in the right spot. Be one of the thousands to check out REIARadio.com.
You look like you were a biology major in college.
Impressive, yes.
Is that right? What is the largest claim amount you've ever worked on?
I'm working on a $5 to $7 million claim right now here in Omaha.
They call it slate.
Yeah, well, it's manufactured.
You know what I'm
slate.
saying? Like,
yes,
that's the term for it. Slate roof in quotations because it's not slate.
You don't want to put
asbestos.
Yeah,
But it's obviously one of the best roofs ever made because
it's bulletproof.
It
lasts forever.
I
It'll
mean,
outlive
insurance companies
the nuclear holocaust.
would probably still be alive if they allowed them.
Yeah. Yeah. Jeez, careful there.
So you rolled up your sleeves and said, "All right, now the real work begins."
Owen, man, great to sit down with you again, and what a great podcast that we had another day.
First time we've ever had a public insurance adjuster on here, and that's a crazy world that dude lives in, man.
You know, we've had a couple of those first. You know, it's interesting to kind of get these different types of classes of people that come in. Like we interviewed Tom Delwo.
Mm-hmm.
And
appraiser extraordinaire.
Yeah, and you know it's kind of fun to get the inside track on some of these people that you work with in your business.
Well, these are all real estate adjacent businesses that typically are, if you're a real estate investor, you at some point are going to partner in indirectly or directly with attorneys, insurance agents, mortgage brokers, like you name it. There's going to be people that you need to have in your corner, CPAs or another. And this is a good one because across the country, we've just been continuously hammered for the last, several years on disasters, from hurricanes to flooding to droughts to hailstorms to tornadoes to, you name it. I have no idea what's next. Alien invasions.
Yeah, I mean they're prepping us for that, aren't they?
Probably. It's probably policies you can get out there with that in it. But
there's a lot of people that say because they've released the files, that means that the aliens are coming and are just getting us ready for it.
Well, this was but Caeden's interesting. So he's not just an insurance adjuster. He also owns some interesting investment properties that he picked up while doing his regular business, which is a public adjusting of insurance claims. And so you'll have to stay tuned in this, but this is like nothing I have ever heard, his approach to picking up these properties and how he makes them work from a financial perspective, right?
I mean, if that's what you want to call it.
Yeah, we're in air quotes around making them work. But no, super interesting. I learned a lot from the episode, and it was he's dealt with a bunch of different insurance companies as an independent adjuster, and has worked with a bunch of different borrowers, people that have had claims, and also the back end of that. And he's on your side. So if you're not familiar with the world of public adjusting, this is probably something you want to pay attention to, because if you plan on being in the real estate business for a while and kind of scaling up your portfolio, odds are at some point, especially if you live in the Midwest like we do, you're going to run into some issues. So whether it's, massive hailstorms, tornadoes, straight line winds, derechos, whatever.
A derecho?
Derecho is he touched on it in the episode, but in eastern Iowa a couple of years ago, they call it derecho, which I don't know what the Spanish word for that means, but basically is very, very bad storm. But it's not typically hail, but more like straight line winds that are just smoke your property.
Yeah.
So they got hit really, really bad in that part of the country. So interesting stuff, man.
How bad did you get hit in that storm? I mean, you were posting some videos of some hail. Did your outside your house get just?
No, it was small enough. They were small enough to where it didn't cause more than superficial damage. So I don't think it's going to be enough to warrant. Like I'm not going to do a claim on it.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, because I just had mine. My personal home got replaced. Not probably 5-6 years ago. So I'll probably just wait till a really bad one comes along before I do anything with a claim.
Okay,
what about you?
We got really lucky. We didn't even have hail at our house.
Yeah, nice.
But the tornadoes were 40 blocks down the road.
Well, just wait a couple weeks. I'm sure we got another one coming right behind it. What do you do? So I'm curious what your house is like when you have, now that you've got some investment properties. that you have to worry about? Like, what are you feeling when you see a weather alert come across?
Well, you know,
are you clinching?
It was like it was like a year and a half ago. We had a storm hit the southern part of Omaha, and all my properties are in southern part of Omaha.
Yeah,
I learned a lot about my policies during that because every one of my houses had damage, and so yeah, to have the whole portfolio go in one single whoop, that was it was interesting. But the part that I learned a lot on is since I do short-term, midterm rentals, I have a different policy than a standard person that has like $1,000 deductible.
Yeah.
You know, so all mine were like 2 and 3% of the replacement costs were the deductibles.
Ooh.
So for my
you had some higher deductibles then.
Yeah, like for my small portfolio, my I think I had over $60,000 that I had to come up with out of pocket.
Ooh. Youch.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I just to tie this together, whenever there's a really bad weather alert coming, like we had a couple weeks ago with the tornado we mentioned, I'm just pacing around, watching Bill Ranby, our local weather forecaster, rolling up his sleeves, and it's not a good feeling. Yeah, but you know what's interesting, and I would bet there's probably other cities like this around the country, but around the world really, but. We have what's called, have you ever heard the term Omadome?
Yes, of course.
Yeah, so Omaha is known to be really have a high concentration level of concrete, right? Just like, you know, obviously New York City. But what that does is it affects the air, and I'm probably going to butcher this, so don't fact check me on it. Just roll with this, listeners. But what happens is, you know, larger cities that don't have a ton of green space, a lot of times they'll have air currents that exist in it and over the city that a lot of times act like they repel whatever severe weather is coming in. So hence the name Omadome. So Omaha is known for that. Anytime you see some heavy weather trekking in from, usually the west or the south, it'll come up, and a lot of times it just kind of peters out or kind of almost diverts around the city because of it. So we've gotten lucky several times over the last several years with weather that could have been really bad.
Well, the last time we had a tornado like this was in the 70s.
Yeah.
Like 75, I think it was. So.
Yeah, we had, 3 EF3 touchdowns that caused significant damage in and around kind of the Omaha and surrounding area.
Yeah.
So scary stuff.
Crazy time.
But I have, so kind of tying together the in the vein of insurance protection, you ready for today's Golden Nugget?
Today's Golden Nugget is brought to you by JM Real Estate Capital.
Hi, it's Rob, JM Real Estate Capital. We're the money guys that you need to know for all your real estate investments. Talk to us. We can do what your local bank can't or won't do. We don't have millions. We have trillions with a T to lend. 844-we close, or go online, jmrecapital.com. That's jmrecapital.com. JM Real Estate Capital, smart solutions for the real estate investor.
Today's Golden Nugget, I just wanted to familiarize some listeners out there that may not be all that seasoned in the investment world and dealing with insurance, kind of some key terms to look for. And we touch on this a little bit further in the episode with Caeden, and he kind of goes over what are some common mistakes that investors make when it comes to insurance policies and so forth. But there's some key things that I think might be good to take note of. One is, I think probably a big one is ACV, which is actual cash value, versus replacement cost value. And what happens, and we talked about this in the episode, but what happens is you can get a cheaper policy, so your out-of-pocket money that you're paying every month for a premium is going to be lower, a little bit lower on an actual cash value policy. But what that really means is if you have a claim, they're only going to pay you basically what the materials that were damaged are worth, and they're going to factor in how much age is on them. So if you have a 15-year-old roof, they're going to take the value of that current day roof if you want to replace it, and they're going to depreciate it, and they're going to factor in the age of the roof and basically remove how much they're going to. It's called withheld depreciation. So you have a claim on a policy, they're going to hold some of that money back for depreciated money. And then they'll release it once you do the work. But with ACV policies, you get what you get. And there's really, and I'm sure, Caeden probably has some things to say about fighting that. But replacement cost is more money, but it should, in theory, cover most of your claim amount that it's going to cost you out of pocket to repair it, minus your deductible. It's how it's supposed to work.
I'm dealing with that with a property I bought that had an ACV policy on it. But I mentioned this in the podcast, but the gentleman I bought from was like, well, he goes, I have a potential lawsuit against the insurance agent because I actually got quoted an RCV policy, and I have it all documented requesting to move forward with it. But he didn't.
So he got quoted as replacement cost, but actual put in force was ACV.
Yes.
Ooh, yeah, that's an ouch.
And the adjuster working with it, like, no, we want to get through this first part, get the full payout, and then have that be the next step to this.
Now, when I first started investing, I wanted to get the cheapest out-of-pocket money possible on a monthly basis so I could help my cash flow out. And I got all ACV policies. Later on, after going through some claims, I figured out that, okay, maybe that's not the smartest idea because the amount of savings you get on the premium cost is really not, it's not going to move the needle all that much. So you might as well just, this is my take, and everybody's got their own thing, but I say get the replacement cost. And I'm going through this on a large property right now where the ACV is $1 million and the replacement cost is like $2 million. Huge difference when you start getting up there in property values.
Wow.
Yeah. So ACV and RCV. And then here's a key one, and this is more for larger properties, but they have what's called an ordinance and law component to your policy, which is basically if in the process of doing the replacement repairs, you are required by the city to put some stuff in your property that wasn't there before. Good example of this is if you have to sprinkler the property, if you have to, put in fire alarms, if you have to do some things that weren't there before but now are going to be because of code requirements. That is called code and ordinance. And typically a policy is going to have some money carved out specifically for that. So like we have one we're dealing with that we have a $300,000 code and ordinance, provision in the policy that will cover us if we do have at least up to that amount, if we have to do, like electrical or plumbing or sprinklering or things like that. So make sure you have a component of that in there and that you understand it. And then here's my last part of the golden nugget here is I have answered this question a lot of times over the years, and I don't think I've ever brought this up on the podcast, but I flip quite a few houses, right? That's kind of a regular business dealing for me. So I usually have multiple flips going on at a time, and there aren't that many carriers out there that will actually place a policy on a vacant property that's under construction. Mm-hmm. So if it's a larger property, typically they categorize that as builder's risk. And if it's a single family or a smaller property, a lot of times you'll hear it as vacant property insurance or something to that effect. So two carriers that I've had success with, I guess, in getting policies placed, and I would say probably the easiest one, and this we're not getting paid by them, although we would welcome it. NREIG, which is National Real Estate Insurance Group, I think is what it stands for, also known as REI Guard, and they're out of Kansas City, Missouri. They will issue policies, and they're pretty user-friendly. They have a portal, and you can just go on and select the policy you want and then place it, and it doesn't take very long, like 10 minutes maybe. So you don't have to a ton of back and forth on the phone. And, their claims process, we've been through a couple of them. It's a little bit painful, but it always is anyway with others. And then the other one is Foremost Insurance. And I don't know if that's changed recently or not, but I've had Foremost policies on vacants before.
Yeah, I have also. They do a lot of my construction jobs.
So if you catch this, maybe just make a note, check with Foremost and or NREIG or REI Guard out of Kansas City if you're shopping for a flip policy or a property that's going to be vacant for a little bit of time while you're doing construction on it. It'll cover you. So that's today's Golden Nugget.
That was some good stuff in there, Owen.
Thanks, man. What else has been going on with you recently?
So that house I brought up,
Yep.
I had the eviction on it. We went to eviction court, and in the end, it was kind of fun going to it. It's like backroom negotiation. It was kind of fun. But anyway, so
was that all done in Swahili?
No, but there was a translator. And in the end, though, they agreed to have us a letter by the organization saying that they're going to cover all future payments by May 7th. And last week, we got a check in for the whole entire back fee plus 2 months paid ahead.
Wow.
Yeah. So,
but they're out, right?
No, they stayed.
Oh, they stayed.
Yeah.
Okay, so now you have somebody that's able to communicate with them. You're kind of all on the same page collectively.
And they all got jobs now. Prepaid 2 months. We took care of everything, and I sold the property actually.
Nice,
And
dude.
so
I know that was
get that off the plate, and I think it was kind of a win-win. The guy got a house that's got good rent in, plus it's prepaid for the next couple months, and add some security there too, right?
Yeah, good for you.
And then so I'm just kind of like, I don't know, reevaluating my portfolio, but I did get my newest Airbnb up and running.
Oh yeah.
And in the first, this is my little Bohemia house, I call it.
Mm-hmm.
And
the family treasure.
Family treasure. And in the first week, we had over $6,000 in bookings.
That's amazing.
So-
for one house.
Yeah.
And it's coming up on the nice time of year to have Airbnbs, which is in Omaha during the College World Series, where we get a ton of people coming to town over a couple weeks.
Well, considering I've never had money come in on this house since 2008 when I bought it.
It's a welcome sight, looking in, not seeing negative numbers.
Yeah, like I still have it tied up to I have it tied to an old bank account that I've never that I've actually don't use anymore.
Yeah.
And I looked at that. I was like, "Where's this money going?" I looked at the account, and all of a sudden, there's all these deposits starting to go in there. I'm like, "Ooh,
Nice."
I was like, "I might just leave that so I can just track the income coming in a little."
Now, I know you had talked in other episodes and off air too with me, but you were looking into Boostly, and you were looking into some other tools to kind of help with your Airbnb management. Is that are you doing anything different on this one, or just kind of doing what you always have?
So I actually had my meeting with Boostly this morning.
Okay.
And I'm meeting with Liam, their head coach, and he's helping me with the process.
Liam Neeson?
Yes.
Oh,
how do you know?
Nice. He has a special set of skills.
Yes, very special. So he showed me the starts of the site. So the site's pretty much done. We're just tweaking it through. We had to do some corrections because my company name versus the property name. We named the property, so I bought a website just for the property.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah.
So like littlebowstay.com goes to that property individually, but Kaasch Money Properties is my the big picture. So we had to just discuss that. But yeah, the site's pretty cool. You can individually put, the different properties in there. I can have unlimited properties. If I ever want to co-host or manage, it has a section for that in there. And then if it has a section just explaining midterms and how that works in there with that pricing. But yeah, they gave a lot of tips. I still keep on reverting back to that episode we did with Mark at Boostly.
Oh yeah.
And taking inputs on there and on how to make it better. But the property's up, it's running. I've signed in with a property management system called OwnerRez.
Okay.
Everything I've listened to, everything I've watched says OwnerRez is the biggest, best, and the oldest in the business right now. It's a very complicated site to learn. There's so much to it. There's people that go out there and they charge like $1,500 and they'll actually input it and do it all for you.
That's so weird that why is it so complicated?
Because it just does everything.
Okay.
I mean, it is a full property management software.
Gotcha. So it's like almost like an enterprise suite software package, right?
It connects to like 140 other sites that will merge with it if you want to.
So it aggregates your posting out to a lot of different places.
And I've been limiting myself on what I've been. So I have OwnerRez as my main they call it PMS, and then
that's fitting.
Yeah, right. And then and then I got Turno.com. And so it'll like notify my cleaners that the house is ready and lets them know how much time they have to clean it. Gives them my checklist, and all that connects into there too.
Okay.
And then I got into Price Labs. Mm-hmm. So auto changes all my pricing depending on the season.
What does that cost?
I think it's $20 a month.
Okay. Price Labs.
Huh. So then and you don't have to have OwnerRez. It will connect right into your Airbnb too.
Gotcha.
And it'll change all the pricing. It looks at all the upcoming concerts, and it tracks all the Airbnbs in your area that are similar. And if they see all them changing prices too, it'll offset.
Oh, I need to do that. So I think I'm leaving a ton of money on the table.
So at one point for CWS, it said, hey, like I put my nightly stay at 600, and as soon as I connected it bumped me all the way up to 770 a night. Mm-hmm. And then I actually booked like 3 nights immediately. And then I checked it the next night because it changes every night at midnight, and it bumped all the way down to 675 for the remaining days of CWS. So it's automatic. It's always looking at what people are doing.
Dynamic pricing adjustments.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool, man. I need to make a decision on mine. I'm still self-managing it, not doing a great job, so I need to just kind of like remove myself from the equation. But Yeah, that's cool. But yeah, CWS coming up, man. I'm looking at my calendar. I'm excited to have some positive numbers in there too for bookings.
Dude, your place should just be killing it.
I would think so, but it's really not. It's mostly just weekends. During CWS, I've got like a 6-night stay, and I think I have another 4-night stay, and that's about it.
Well, maybe when I iron out my systems, I can do a
brother up.
co-management, and I can put you into my system.
All right, I love it. Let's do that.
Welcome to REIA Radio, episode 122 with Caeden Tinklenberg.
First try.
Yeah, well done. Thanks, Ted.
That's 100%.
That's 100%.
And maybe we need have like an automatic applause that comes up in the background when I get it right.
It's a little trap. Yeah.
Yeah.
Crowd noise.
Yeah.
All right, make this happen.
Yeah. Normally I get Tinkleberg. People just forget the N. So that's always a fun one.
Yeah. People just insert random consonants into my last name. So much so that my wife has a cousin that lives in like Ankeny in Iowa. And whenever we get a Christmas card, I called her out on it one year because she put a C in my last name. It's just Dash, like Dashner. But a lot of people want to add a C for some reason. So I called her out on that. Then the next year, she added another letter. And then it became another letter and another letter. So it's like Dashing. Like it's like Chevy Chase.
It's not a hard name.
I know. It's anyway. But Tinklenberg.
That's right.
All right. So you're the first claims adjuster, I think, that we've had on the episode. And what better time to get you on than after an EF3, is it EF3 or F3?
Yeah.
EF3 tornado hits towns in and around Omaha and causes mass destruction. This for those not in the Nebraska or Iowa area, we got smoked by tornadoes here about 2 weeks ago, and are still basically trying to figure out all the damage. And a lot of people are without homes now. It's been a pretty big deal here. So Lincoln, Nebraska got hit. Minden, Iowa, in particular. I know some other smaller towns. Yeah, they're just like, I don't know if they're like what God wanted to wipe out Sodom and Gomorrah or what off the map. It seems like he's got an eye on Minden, Iowa for some reason. Yeah. But let's get into it. So this is a hot topic around this neck of the woods. What's your life been like the last couple of weeks?
Well, yeah, the tornadoes hit literally exactly 2 weeks ago, Friday, April 26th of 2024. And really our focus since then has been on outreach. Everyone is still kind of in shock a little bit of those that were affected. So you kind of have stages after any type of natural disaster. You have sort of the immediate relief period, which is where, all the national organizations come in.
I thought you meant relief like, oh, I'm alive. Thank God.
Well, that too. Thankfully, there was, only one death out of this whole storm, which was a miracle considering how, particularly violent this tornado was.
Owen had touchdowns that were within a block or two of his house.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean the airport. I live in Carter Lake, I had no idea it was even there. Looked and then they're like, "Oh yeah, this is at Epley Airfield," and I'm like, what? We're in the basement, just
I was texting you the second they were showing it.
You might have actually told me about it, because I don't think.
Dude, you doing okay? Like, there's a tornado above you right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, they spin up fast. I mean, that same cell that dropped that tornado at the Epley was over 480 and 80 5 minutes earlier. And if it had dropped then, that would have been, downtown Omaha, ground zero.
Yeah. So what happens in an adjuster world during a time like this that's, catastrophe everywhere?
Yeah, so it depends on what kind of adjuster you are. So I'm a public adjuster, meaning I don't work for the insurance companies. I work for the policyholders, the insureds, the home and business owners that have had a claim. So for me, right off the bat, I don't necessarily get a whole lot of work coming straight out of it. That sort of happens a little bit later after everybody has kind of settled down, and focus has been moved from immediate shelter, water, food needs to, okay, now what am I going to do with my house that's destroyed? So that takes a little while. It takes 2-3 weeks, however long. For the other types of adjusters, staff adjusters that work for the insurance company, as well as independent adjusters that generally do this exact kind of work. They come in after a catastrophe on an independent contractor basis. Their work starts immediately. So they'll get deployed the same day as the storm or within 2 or 3 days. and they'll come from wherever they're stationed to wherever the disaster is, and they'll start adjusting claims as soon as they get here.
How long have you been in this part of the business?
I've been a public adjuster since March of 2019. That's when I got licensed. But before that, I did some construction work, and my dad owns a construction company up in Sioux Falls. So I've been in the related fields for quite a while.
Okay. And now, am I wrong in thinking that you were like right out of college in 2019? Right.
2017 is when I graduated.
2017.
So,
okay.
Yeah, it wasn't far.
And now, just doing a little bit of research, it looked like you were a biology major in college.
Impressive, yes.
Is that right?
Yeah. That's
what was
right.
the initial plan there? I know nobody knows what the hell they want to do when they're 18 years old and have to decide on a major. But why biology, and why did that not work out?
Well, I really liked medicine, and I liked biomedical research stuff. I still do. I find that kind of stuff fascinating. And always have. So I went to college and got my undergraduate degree in biology. And originally the plan was to try to get into an MD PhD program, which is a dual degree medical school, and you get your doctorate at the same time. And a lot of people who do that, go on to do biomedical research and have, very profound findings that have massive impacts on the medical field. And that's what I wanted to do.
You were thinking more of like in a lab type setting.
Yep.
You were going to be more of a scientist than a practicing
Correct.
Medical physician.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. I did most of my summers between my years of college in various internships in medical research environments.
Okay.
I would never guess that.
Yeah, I know.
It's always funny, isn't it?
Yeah.
Finding out what people's educational background was, and then you look at their business background. You're like, what happened? What's the story here?
Yeah.
So, why did you decide to pursue a career or a business in public adjusting? Why not just work for State Farm or Farm Bureau or another insurance agency and try and grow a book of business? Like, what was it that drew you to the claim side in particular?
Yeah. Well, so kind of back to when I'm graduating college, and this leads into the explanation for how I found myself here. But after I graduated college, I tried to get into some of these MD, PhD programs, and there's very few of them, especially if you're not an in-state resident. So, for example, the University of South Dakota, I was a South Dakota resident, has 2 spots every year. That's all they have for
you're
this
kidding.
program. Yeah.
Dang.
So, I didn't get in. I got a couple interviews, which, looking back on was nice. But I didn't get into any of those programs. But my wife, who I married between junior and senior year at college, she wanted to be a veterinarian. And so she got into vet school right away at Iowa State in Ames.
Oh, they have a great veterinary program there.
Yeah, they're the oldest public vet school in the nation.
Yeah.
So, yeah, very prestigious, which was awesome. Very excited for her and wanted to support her in doing that.
Are you a big Iowa State
You
fan?
mean have her support you is what you meant, right?
Yeah, well, that was the goal, right?
Nice.
When she got in, I was like, I'm going to work for these next 4 years, then I'm going to retire. She got into vet school, and tuition was not cheap. And I didn't have any idea what I was going to do, so I fell back upon what I knew, which was roofing and construction. Because like I said, my dad owns a construction company up there, and I grew up doing that. So a big hailstorm had just hit up in Minneapolis that year in 2017, and so I went up there and started working, selling roofs, siding, windows, etc. for a construction company in Minneapolis. And that lasted about a year, and then a hailstorm hit Ames, which was perfect, 'cause that's right where my wife was going to school. And I got hooked up with a company there, the owner of which is now my partner at Swift. And I started selling for them. And then a year later, so this is 2019, a court ruling came out, and this is kind of where the fork in the road, so to speak. And the ruling is a case called 33 Carpenters versus State Farm. The ruling said that contractors cannot act like public adjusters, meaning they can't advocate for their clients, they can't negotiate with the adjusters, they can't really do anything that's going to influence the outcome of the claim.
Is that right?
Yeah.
I did not. Did you know about this?
No. And why does that matter?
Well, that's a long story. The politics behind UPPA, the unauthorized practice of public adjusting, are hotly contested
Kinda like
in the
wholesaling.
industry. Yes. Yeah, that's a great example, right? The people who are licensed to do something don't like it when non-licensed people encroach upon their practice, right? And, you know, the way it's advocated to the courts and to the legislature is that contractors have a conflict of interest and don't have to meet the licensing requirements, et cetera. And those arguments do have some merit. But basically this court case came out, and here I am as a roofing salesman, and the favorite part of what I do is helping my homeowners get what I think is a fair shake on their claim. And all of a sudden I'm risking being turned into the insurance division in Iowa for violating this law. So at that point I had to look, and I had to say, well, am I going to give up my favorite part of what I do, which is meeting with adjusters and like I said, helping my homeowners get a fair shake on their claim? Or am I going to pivot and go get my public adjuster license and, you know, do this full time? And, you know, that's what I chose to do.
So you're almost a doctor.
Basically.
Yeah. Now, so I'm thinking of a lot of different things with this. So you mentioned, you know, contractors basically, in essence, acting like they're an unlicensed adjuster. So they're coming to a homeowner, and I know this from claims. They'll, you know, you get people that come by and door knock, and, you know, after a storm and all that, and they're like, oh, you know, you don't have to, you know, we'll pay for your deductible, and like we'll deal directly with the insurance company, and like they're just wanting to get the business, and then they'll figure out how to make the numbers work after, right?
Yeah.
What would you say after a major catastrophic event, like a large hailstorm, a tornado, you know, straight line winds that cause damage into a swath or like a, you know, a zip codes or cities or whatever that are affected in mass? Mm-hmm. What are some things to watch out for? If I'm going out and I'm like, oh my God, my house is like, you know, wrecked, I need to get this fixed right away. And you get people knocking on your door, right? And they say, oh, hey, I can go look at your roof, give you a free estimate. And like, you know, we can pay for the deductible and all that. Mm-hmm. What should Joe and Susie homeowner and also investors look out for when they're dealing with, you know, contractors? Is that a good question to ask?
It's a great question to ask. I mean, it's a very common question to ask, and everyone wants a silver bullet, right? Like, if you avoid this, you'll be fine. Mm-hmm. And the truth is, you won't. I mean, there's local companies that get into trouble and go out of business all the time, despite on paper being the most reliable, safest choice. Mm-hmm. You know, so there's some obvious things. Check their licensing, right? Depending on what type of work they have to do. If they're just doing some roofing and siding, they just need a Class E license. If they're doing, you know, some more structural stuff, they probably should have at least Class D, probably a Class E license. That's specific to Douglas County. Other jurisdictions have different licensing classes. But, you know, someone's not going to grab your check and run away with it if they have a brick and mortar. But at the same time, when there's widespread catastrophes like this, the brick and mortars can't do it all, right? Mm-hmm. And so you have to have people coming in, if you want to call them storm chasers or whatever else. They're coming in here because there's need, right? And they're coming here because there's opportunity for them. And not all those people are bad people. Few of them are bad people. But you still have to be careful. And, you know, don't sign anything willy-nilly, right? Actually look at the terms. I know that's hard for people to do, but read the terms, consult with other people, you know, look into their background, right? You have Google, you have Facebook, check out their reviews. Where are they located? You know, how many other jobs have they done?
What are the risks in, like, let's say somebody knocks on your door and okay, I want to just like shine a light on this. If one person listening to this does not know, then I'm glad I mentioned it. When we talk about storm chasers, a common tactic is they will set up shop virtually in the state or city or location wherever the storm is located. So they'll get a Google Voice number, which you can do anywhere in the United States or probably the world. I don't know. Fact check me on that, but you could get a random Google number, set up a phone number, or you could even call a local company that's already here and say, hey, we want to, we're going to go out and sell. Can we just use your business name, right? Is that's a common tactic,
that's
right?
That's called a set. Yeah,
Yep.
there's a specific thing for it. It's essentially a joint venture for a specific purpose, of coming in. So, yeah, that happens a lot. There's a lot of big name companies that do that.
And I've heard of, this has never happened to me personally, and Ted, I don't know about you, but I know that people have gotten ripped off, or I shouldn't say ripped off. I'm sure that happens. But I think the most common thing is they just disappear after the roof is put on, and good luck if it was done incorrectly or if they use
warranty issues.
Yeah, if there's warranty issues, and they'll be like, oh, it's 1 year. What I don't know what's common, but materials and labor or that type of warranty, and then they're just gone. And then you try and contact them, the number's disconnected and all that. So. It's hard to suss that out, especially if you're not, super internet savvy. Maybe there's older people that are not, used to Googling everybody and trying to figure that out. But is there any other thoughts on how do you kind of get a local company and they're a local company, not just somebody that has a local phone number or they're piggybacking off of somebody?
No,
hard to tell.
There's really not a way to tell. And that's why they work, right?
Yeah.
That's how they get away with it. And I don't want to say get away with it like it's an inherently bad thing. But, companies come in and work under other companies' names. One thing we see, and I actually like, is you'll have a large storm chasing company come in, and they'll still do everything under their storm company name, but then they'll partner with a smaller local company to service their warranty issues.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
right.
yeah.
So that's one
That
way.
makes sense.
Yeah, that's one way they get around it. Another way is that if they're and most storm companies are, some sort of certified installer for the shingle manufacturer or window or siding or whatever, they can offer a supplier or manufacturer-backed installation labor warranty.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Oh, that's
so
a good
those
tip.
are things to look for.
Well, one thing that comes up quite a bit is with insurance agents. And I had one specific agent tell me that when you work with an adjuster, that this is frowned upon usually by the insurance companies themselves, or can come back to you in a negative way. Is that true?
I've never heard of an underwriting guideline that asks whether or not the policyholder is prone to hiring a public adjuster or an attorney in a claims environment. I wouldn't be surprised if that's,
There's
some
a blacklist
factor.
out there somewhere.
Right. I wouldn't be surprised, but I obviously don't have any firsthand knowledge of that.
Yeah.
Well, Ted's already on the city inspector blacklist, so he might as well just add himself to the insurance one too.
Well, I have a property right now that I inherited the adjuster that's on the file, and it's a 4-unit building. There was a fire in one unit. It was kind of like a subject to deal, and so we took on the insurance company, took on the current loan until we get this all settled. And this has been going. The local adjuster, obviously not you, has been working on this file for almost a year.
The local public adjuster?
Yeah.
Okay.
And working on this for almost a year. I'll be honest with you, with this company, and I looked it up, and it didn't have the best reviews, but this particular company has pretty much, this is how much you're going to get. Originally, we're like, hey, $100,000 to $300,000. We know that there was a $40,000 payout for the initial cleanup, from the water damage. Owen knows a lot about that stuff. And and then there was like a $5,000 a month payout for rental reimbursement.
Yep.
But nothing has been paid out, not 1 cent, to any repairs yet. That has come into hand. Now there's probably about $40,000 that the bank is sitting on, and that when we get the repairs done, they'll reimburse us. Mm-hmm. But the communication's just been pretty dang awful. And I called somebody in there, and they're like, "Oh, $175,000 has been paid out. This claim is almost done." I go, "Where's that 100? We haven't received that money. The owner hasn't received that money. Where's this money?" And it sounds like they're counting Well, I know they are. They're counting the rental reimbursement as payout for the claim. That's two different policies, right?
It's two different coverages. It's the same
sorry.
policy generally, but
yeah.
two different coverages. And you shouldn't be applying funds from one coverage to
I mean, the fire was
different coverage.
This fire was a year and a half ago, and only one unit was damaged. The other units are perfectly fine, but the city condemned the whole building because now all the plumbing, all the wiring has to be to code now.
Yeah.
For all the units. And then as it's sitting there, like just on Saturday night, I got a phone call from a neighbor, and some squatters got in there and broke 25 windows out, bashed in all the doors on the good side, where it was literally, paint, hardware, and lighting could have got the units back up and going. But now it's everything.
Is it insured now?
It's still insured, yeah.
It is with the same carrier.
Yep.
Probably want to file a second claim for that
we're waiting for the police report to show up. But
okay.
Yeah, we had to call police out there. They were still in the place, and so it was like 4 guys squatting in there.
Gotten pretty good at boarding up places.
Yeah, it's very boarded. So
yeah,
it was boarded up and everything. They kicked in the one steel door was the only door that we kept the deadbolts on. All the other ones are like double, 2x4 all the way shut, and there's no way to get through it. And all the bottom windows were boarded up, so they couldn't be broken out.
My dad owns an industrial property up in Sioux City, and it has all steel doors. There's an old turkey processing plant. Concrete walls, steel doors, and probably once a quarter he has to go down there and re-weld everything back shut because somehow they get into the place. I mean, it's crazy.
If somebody wants in, they're going to get in.
Yeah.
I mean, however determined they are, they're probably going to get in. Oh my God!
This fire happened over a year and a half ago, and the reason the guy sold it to me is because it was taking so long. He couldn't
get any traction on the claim.
Yeah, and so he's like, I'll just sign over to what I have on the loan.
Yeah,
wow. He's like, there's nowhere I can go with this anymore. And the insurance company initially came out with and told him that they'd pay for it was like $15,000 or $18,000. So that's why he ended up getting an adjuster to help out with it.
Yeah,
because the rehab estimate before this additional damage was exceeding over $300,000. Because now the plumbing has to get put back to code, there's a potential for running a new line to the street, even though there's no problems or damages to the line.
And your public adjuster is not doing anything about that, unfortunately, right?
I don't think so.
Yeah,
I don't know. I'm yet to have a sit down, and we bought it in December.
Yeah, that's not acceptable.
So I was so in the dark. My contractors had some verbal conversations, but the last 3 meetings have been canceled, or just didn't happen.
Well, that sucks for everyone.
And I know that it's a one-off, and I'm not trying to bash on adjusters. I'm just having a conversation.
It's not necessarily a one-off with certain companies.
Yeah. So
Caeden, have you dabbled in real estate investing? Like we've talked about your jobby job and your business, but what's going on in your world as far as buying these lovely investments that we seem to bitch about every week.
Yeah, I seem to attract the same issues that Ted has with certain properties. But yeah, I don't own a whole lot. I don't own about 6 across Nebraska and Iowa. My specific niche is buying properties exactly like what Ted just described. They've had some sort of damage to them, fire damage, hail damage, tornado damage, and the claim is not in a good place, right? So we purchased the property, and with that purchase, we also get what's called an assignment of benefits, which essentially transfers on a post-loss basis, so after the loss, your rights to pursue the claim under the policy that was in place with the seller. And, with our experience, we're able generally to get a lot more money out of the claim that we can either then use to complete the rehab and flip the property or hold it, whatever the best disposition option is, or put that money into our pockets and raise the property or sell it as is.
There was a gentleman that spoke at the Omaha Real Estate Meetup Group. Brain fart on his name, but it was right in the very beginning, and he worked for a local adjuster company, and he kind of did the same thing, but he sought out homes that had asbestos roofs.
Yep.
And with those roofs, he was looking for hail damaged roofs. He'd buy the house, he'd get a killer deal on them.
Yep.
put the claim in, and he had his own guys that did the asbestos roofs.
Little inside dealing.
And
there.
was able to take that money, and he said that he did the whole entire renovation of the house just under the asbestos claims.
What?
Yeah.
Yeah, so asbestos, I don't know if you know what it looks like, but oftentimes
Those
it's a
diamond
diamond-shaped
roofs,
roof, or sometimes it's
Oh,
a
sure,
square
yeah.
tile.
They call
But-
it slate.
Yeah, well,
That's what,
it's manufactured
you know what I'm
slate.
saying? Like,
Yes.
that's the term for it. Slate roof in quotations because
Yeah.
it's not slate.
You don't want to
it's
put...
asbestos.
Yeah.
But it's obviously one of the best roofs ever made because
Yeah, it's
they
bulletproof.
last
Yeah, it lasts forever.
I
It'll
mean,
outlive
insurance
the
companies
nuclear holocaust.
would probably still be alive if they allowed them.
Yeah. Yeah. Jeez, careful there. But yeah, so the cost not only to remove that product is very significant, not only in a work-safe manner, but dumping. There's a lot of hoops to jump through, a lot of regulatory issues, and that raises up the price for removing an asbestos roof. But not only that, insurance owes for replacement of that product with something of like, kind, and quality. Well, what is like, kind, and quality to asbestos when you can't put asbestos back on?
Slate.
Probably genuine slate or something else that's going to last just as long. And
like a Spanish tile roof or something like
Yes.
that. So
Yep.
You get something
Exactly.
that costs like 10 times as much as a shingle.
Yep. And
Yeah.
so you get that, and now you're not going to be able to recapture the depreciation on that roof because you're not probably going to put, Spanish clay tile or a true slate back on that roof, especially if it's just a rental property, small house. A lot of those asbestos roofs are on, little small gingerbread houses, but you're not going to be able to recapture all the depreciation, but you can use the actual cash value to put whatever you want on there.
What is the largest claim amount you've ever worked on?
I'm working on a $5 to $7 million claim right now here in Omaha.
Was it a fire, flood,
Hail.
tornado?
Hail and wind, actually.
Hail?
Yep. Big industrial roof.
$5 to $7 million.
Yep.
What did it do to the? It was property damage? That's what it was.
Yeah. So it was a large manufacturing facility that had a membrane roof that got damaged by the 2022 hailstorm. It's just really, really big.
Okay, so let's say you get this deal done. I mean, not exactly how much you're going to pay, but how do you get compensated on a deal like that?
Yeah, good question.
Yeah. So public adjusters, generally speaking, get a percentage of the claim. And that percentage varies on a number of factors, how big the claim is, how old it is, who the carrier is in some cases. And so some states also have fee caps, so that comes into play as well. Our fee that my firm charges ranges from 10% to a third.
Okay, so if you take 10% to a third, and I got this claim happening, I mean, theoretically, I'm not going to have the money to, let's say it's just a roof.
Yeah.
And the roof's not properly done, and I get, this roof is gonna be $100,000, and if you're taking 10 to 30,000 out of that, then theoretically I'm gonna come out of pocket to pay that, right?
Theoretically, yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yep. Now, there's two ways to look at that. Either you can accept the fact that getting 80% of something is better than getting 100% of nothing, or you can find some way to save costs, right?
And do you guys help with that?
What do you mean?
Define companies that can help save costs.
Not particularly.
Okay.
We have a lot of contractors that refer us out to stuff. We'll refer. If you ask for us, we'll give you some names, but we don't push anybody. And then the other option would be to have those companies actually pay our fee, which in some states is kosher, in other states it's not. So definitely check the laws.
And in the Midwest, is that something?
Generally, that's acceptable practice
Okay.
in most of the Midwest states.
Okay.
Okay, one more question on claims adjustment. So
Yeah.
at what point would you say it makes sense for a home or a property owner to engage a public adjuster? What has to transpire where they, like, in your opinion, should no longer be dealing directly or even indirectly with the carrier's adjuster? So I have State Farm or Farm Bureau or whatever. I open a claim. At what point should I start talking to you?
Well, at the very latest, after you've received a denial, right?
Okay.
If you've received a denial, the likelihood of you being able to turn that around is pretty slim,
Mm-hmm.
right? Or if there's been a gross underpayment of the claim, same thing. The likelihood of getting an adjuster to come up from $5,000 to $100,000, not very high.
Mm-hmm.
But we get involved before those disputes happen all the time. And some of the reasons we do that is people are too busy, right? Or they recognize that we're experts in our field and that they're much better off putting their claims in the hands of a professional than screwing it up themselves.
Mm-hmm. What's been the biggest delta that you've seen between what claim amount was offered to a property owner and then what was eventually attained by a public adjuster?
Yeah. I don't know what the biggest one is. A huge win we just had was on a small HOA, 13 buildings over in Des Moines, and it was at 0. And we just got it approved for $670 for all roof replacements.
$670,000.
Yeah.
So the whole subdivision got new roofs.
Yep.
Dang.
Yep.
Spanish tile.
No, unfortunately, it would be a lot
Asbestos.
more.
Got it.
Yeah, would have been a lot more than $670 if it was asbestos. No, it's just standard shingle. But they had Auto Owners was the insurance company, and they had hired an engineer, and that engineer had said, no, none of this is hail damage, and we said, you're wrong. And they didn't want to consider it, and so we ended up invoking a process called appraisal. We had to because we were running out of time. There's time limits on most claims, so we had to do something with it because we weren't engaged right away. We were engaged, a year and a half after the fact. Yeah, so we were running on limited time anyway, so we didn't get to really exhaust all of our options that we would as a public adjuster before generally sending it through the appraisal process or referring it to an attorney. But we documented the whole thing, sent it in, still got a no. And so then we sent it through the appraisal process, and the appraisal panel came back and awarded us $670,000.
Dang.
Maybe you need a call for your building.
Free look.
You hear about his place?
No.
Oh God, I don't want to bring this
You don't
up.
want to air it.
No.
He had a water damaged property.
Oh,
Yeah, pipes burst in January when we had that 40 below wind chill and all that, and we're still working on a claim right now that's well north of $1 million.
Are you handling it yourself, or do you have like your contractor?
We'll talk.
helping, or-
We'll
Okay.
talk later.
So-
I don't I
yeah.
don't want
You don't want to get into it.
Yeah, I don't want to get into this right now.
No,
It's
yeah.
ongoing.
They
Thanks,
take up the
Ted.
rest of our time.
Yeah. But let's kick this back over to investing.
Yes.
So how and why did you get started with your first one, and what was it? You said you like condemned or like garbage properties like Ted?
Yeah, I love garbage properties.
I'm kidding.
There's a lot of room there to make mistakes.
That's true as well. Yeah, the farther away you can smell it, the better. But I think my first one was actually a property that we were representing on the public adjusting side first. And so the way that deal worked, this is a deal over in eastern Iowa, just a small 4-square farmhouse, nothing special. But she had also had a pipe burst in her second-story bathroom. And so it took out basically all the flooring in the bathroom. It kind of went out the door into the bedroom, et cetera. And then it went through the ceiling, and just they had to complete gut the kitchen and their, little living room next to it, et cetera. Mm-hmm. Well, this was a couple. The husband was in a assisted living or retirement facility. She was still in the house. He died maybe a month or so after we got on the claim, and she didn't have anyone else around.
Yeah.
And so she moved to Oklahoma to be closer to family, and she just
left
wanted
the house there.
Yeah, she wanted to get rid of the house, and no one wanted to buy it. So we stepped in and decided then to start offering that kind of solution, and it worked out great.
Define great.
We got a lot more money on the insurance claim because we had just started representing her, so we really hadn't secured any additional funds yet at that point.
Was she just like, I don't really care, I'm moving, so have at it?
Yeah. I mean,
I'll sign this claim over to you because, I just want to get out of town. My husband's no longer here.
Right.
I want to be closer to family. And you're like, hey, okay. So you rolled up your sleeves and said, all right, now the real work begins.
Pretty much, yeah.
Nice.
She took her jewelry and hightailed out of there and left pretty much everything else.
But why did you decide on eastern Iowa? We're in Omaha, Nebraska. This is southwest Iowa. That's like as far as you can possibly get away from where you currently live, right? Or were you in...
I was still in Ames.
Okay,
at that
so you were
point, I
central ish
Yes.
Iowa.
Yep.
Okay, so you still had about, what, 2.5 hours?
It's still 3 hours
3
from
hours?
there. Yeah, it's way down by Burlington. It's way over there.
So... What you just were like, hey, this seems like a good deal. It's in BFE, but I'm going to buy it. And you said it worked out great. What happened after you bought it?
So after we bought it, we got the insurance money, and it's been sitting dormant since because bigger and better fish have come along.
So worked out great in air quotes, meaning you got a big check in your account, and now you can figure out what to do with it. So what did you buy that house for?
55, I think.
Okay, 55. It's been sitting vacant for how long now?
Probably 3 years now.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I pay a guy $100 a month to mow the lawn, and I ended up buying the next 2 properties to the north of it as well.
So you're
'cause they were the
doubling
same
down.
family.
You're like, you know what? I have 1 vacant property. Let's make it 3.
Yep.
They're all vacant?
They're all vacant. One's been vacant for 18 years. I mean, that one will have to be bulldozed, but the lots are huge. The guy next door wants to buy the back half of all 3 of those lots and build a machine shed. He races like trucks or something. So he wants to get the county to divide up the lots or whatever, so he can buy the whole back track of all of these properties.
Well, let's peel into this onion a little bit here. So you bought a property for 55. You bought 2 additional properties adjoining.
For how much?
Are they
13 and 5?
okay? So these are lots.
No, they have houses on them.
Okay, they must be really nice. Okay, so you're all in at 65,
68.
8.
No. Yeah, something like that.
Okay, so you got 3 vacant homes. They're just chilling there in near Burlington, Iowa.
Yep.
Where all the magic happens. And you're like, what's the plan? I mean,
I
if
hope
this guy doesn't buy them, what then?
I hope a tornado comes through, honestly. That'd be a payday.
They're not in Minden.
No.
Yeah,
no, they're not in Minden. No, so probably the most likely disposition for these properties is that the big 4 square, the primary one, will sell off for maybe 150 to 200, somewhere in there. It just
after work's done.
Yeah, after the kitchen is replaced and new tiles laid in the upstairs bathroom and carpet's done, and it could use some paint. So maybe $70K in renovations, on the top end if we wanted to make it nice. But that's probably where we would look at for that one. The north one, that's the one we bought for 13. That could be rented. It's basically a little studio home. It's tiny, maybe 800 square feet, but it's in good condition, just really outdated with everything. And I just have not had the time to go over there and deal with it, right? I've just had so many other opportunities just fall in my lap.
Have you thought about just listing it as is and seeing what you can get out of it? Do it for a month?
Yeah.
See if an offer comes in?
Yeah, I mean, I just haven't. It's been in the back of my mind. There's so many other deals with bigger outcomes that.
Hey, I'm not judging here. I'm just saying, it's 3 years is a long time. Kind of rip the Band-Aid off, or maybe just hire somebody part-time and be like, this is your problem now. Figure out a way I can get rid of this stuff.
If it's dated but livable. I mean,
I think Ted might want to buy it,
Ted,
actually.
yeah, you want to buy it?
No.
Hot deal for you.
For a $10K house, though, and if it's just dated and livable, I mean, you just turn it on and see if you can get a renter in there for a few $100 just to cover things.
Yeah. Hey, we're workshopping stuff here.
I'll do that
REIA
tonight.
Radio.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, no.
Okay, so 3 properties.
Put on Zillow Rents.
Yeah.
3 properties there. What you mentioned, you had 3 others.
Yes.
Right.
Yep.
What are those?
I got
Similar
one
situations?
in Red Oak. That's the only one that didn't have a claim involved. But it was a poopy property.
Literally?
I feel like anytime anybody mentions Red Oak, Iowa, and having properties, there's like a horror story that's following it.
Yes.
Yeah, and it's not a horror. It could, depending on who you are. It
Are we
could be a
saying
horror
horror
story.
or horror? Just
Yes.
clarifying.
Yes.
Okay. Got it. All right. Understood.
It's a 4-unit, like 2 blocks north of downtown. It's not in a bad part of Red
Is
Oak.
it rented?
It's not rented. It's vacant. All my properties are vacant. There, I'll just
door.
rip that Band-Aid off right now. Yes, every single one of my properties is vacant.
Is it livable?
Yes, but the foundation, the basement walls are collapsing in, so that's causing all the plaster to crack and stuff. It needs a new basement. It's a short story there, right? But that's also a large undertaking.
Are you sure it needs a new basement? Or it can't be reinforced?
You know, Ted,
It can be reinforced, but the quotes I've gotten from Thrasher are essentially the same as
Shotcrete? Are they going there, or are they saying that they
no,
can do
they're
wall anchors?
No, lots of anchors.
Oh, then then it's still fixable.
It's certainly fixable, but like I said, the
What was the
cost
number?
to fix it, like $72,000.
Oh, then they're having to be put in shotcrete. Were they going to put concrete reinforced walls in front of it
I don't remember, dude.
for that price?
I don't remember.
Okay.
But yeah, it needs a new basement. There are potential solutions there, but again, I just have not had the time to deal with it. It's cleaned up. I mean, it's a nice looking property.
Does your wife give you a
kinda.
hard time about this?
No, she doesn't care.
I was just wondering.
She doesn't know. No, I'm kidding. She knows. She knows.
Wait, you got 6 vacant properties, including a 4-unit?
Yeah, 'cause she has to go and work on them sometimes with me. But no, my pride and joy is out in Walnut, Iowa, which is halfway between Omaha, here in Omaha
Never
and
heard of
Des
that one.
Moines.
Yeah.
Actually,
Walnut?
antique capital.
Antiques capital
Yeah.
of what, the state?
The world.
Yeah.
Go big or go
Yeah, it's
home.
like a tourist attraction there.
Yeah.
Walnut, Iowa.
And how
Yeah.
far is that from Omaha?
So I live way on the north edge of Omaha, so I just hop on 680 and go
like an
up and
hour.
over.
Okay.
Not even. It's about 45 minutes from where I'm at.
Maybe we could do a live podcast tour there sometime.
It's
I'll
sweet.
pass. You can handle that one.
No. If you see the picture,
I've been there.
So
I've played baseball in Walnut several times.
Have you been to the boiler house?
Probably.
Doubt it.
I don't know, man. My memory's a little foggy from those times.
Yeah, but it's this beautiful colonial revival brick house designed by McDonald Architects, the same guys who designed Jocelyn Art Center. They're big-time Omaha architects for this old...
It's a neat town.
yeah, this old bachelorette in Walnut ate a boiler, and it's 4,000 some square feet, all wood floors throughout. It was a referral from Clinton Bartlett. It was too far away from him, and had hail damage. I bought it for $140, and the claim has presently been paid out at $110, and there's a lot more still left on that one. But that will be one I keep and Airbnb out for people who are coming for the antiques.
Is it vacant?
There's an Airbnb business there.
Yes, it's vacant.
This is great. This is the first time I've ever heard anything
A real
like
estate
this.
investor with all vacant properties. Yeah.
Like you're the opposite of a DSCR loan.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. But I don't need the rental income because I got the claim income.
Wow, this is fascinating. Actually, like, see, it doesn't even. Like, what about lawn care, snow removal, utilities, like any of that stuff on the radar? Like the liability of it, insurance?
People breaking and destroying them?
No one's destroying anything in Walnut, but yeah, I mean, yeah, there's carrying costs. Yeah, now someone's going to go find this stupid
I
thing.
just knocked on the wood, so you're fine.
Walnut, Missouri is what we were talking
Yes, yeah. No, I have security cameras set up there, but no, I mean, we go out there probably once every other couple weeks during the summer to mow the lawn, and I'm working on stuff there constantly. So,
All right, here's a real question for you. So, and I'm curious on your answer on this too, Ted. What gets you excited about business, whether it's investing or your claims adjusting business or just in general? Like, if something happens that's exciting for you, what does that look like other than tornadoes ruining people's lives?
I don't. That's not fair. That was below the belt.
I'm kidding. No,
That was below the belt.
No, hey, you can answer honestly here. We're in the circle of trust.
Circle of trust.
Nobody's listening.
Yeah, no, nobody. No, I really like trying to figure out ways to make deals work that other people don't, right? Or can't. That's what I really like doing. How can I solve this problem? That's my favorite thing to do. And sometimes problems shouldn't be solved. And so I'm very selective about, the risks that I do take. But that's what gets me going, is looking at a property and going, I bet there's some way that not only can I make this work, that I can make it really work. And everybody else is just, way over their head.
Yeah. Ted, what about you? You've been thinking about that?
I mean, I love, the reason I like the condemned houses is it's just amazing to see that you can transform something that is so ugly that might have poop piled up, 20 inches above the toilet rim. And in the end, you walk in there and it's like this amazingly gorgeous home. I think that transformation process is awesome. But I tell you what, I'm managing my own my Airbnb by myself for the first time. And I got like over $6,000 in bookings last week on this house I just renovated. And to see to see that alone, well, that for me, that was pretty damn exciting. That was like, it was like a little bit of a high, yeah. And then for the first time ever, I'm like screenshotting every time a booking comes through. I'm like sending it to my wife. I'm like, see, it does work.
I was right, honey.
Nice. Yeah. No.
Told you so.
Yeah, I get that. So you like the reward at the end for you is basically seeing kind of like the fruits of your labor coming through.
But it's also extremely taxing.
Yeah, I was going to say if I see a condemned house, I'm like hard pass. Like I know what that's like. I know what it's like working night and day and working with the city and having to deal with permitting and all that. Like the longer I've been doing this, the more I avoid like heavy rehabs. But I get it. I did a lot of those in the beginning, and it was very gratifying. And
you learn a lot.
Yeah. And at the end, when it's all said and done, you probably look back and say, I should have just wholetailed this bitch.
Yeah,
but hey, you can take some pictures.
But you know what? In the end, no. When my projects I'm working on are done, I will not take on any more of these style projects.
Yeah.
I'll move on to.
You earned your stripes?
Yes, I earned my stripes, and I'm done with them.
Yeah. What's your buy box now, Ted?
I don't have a buy box right now. Right now, my buy box is just getting all my properties to the best quality they can. And
did Jessica put your buy box in the doghouse?
She might have done that too. There might be a little bit of frustration going on.
All right, man. Caeden, this has been super interesting. Like I said, we've never had a claims adjuster on, and I also love your approach on buying vacant properties and leaving them vacant. All right, Caeden, we have a section that we always call Failing Forward.
And this Failing Forward is brought to you by REsimply.com. If you're in the real estate game like I am, you know just how wild it can get managing everything from lead tracking to marketing, sales, and operations. That's exactly where REsimply, an all-in-one software for real estate investors, comes in. It's a lifesaver for thousands of investors out there. What's incredible about REsimply is that it is packed with everything you need. List stacking, driving for dollars, automated drip campaigns, a cold call calling dialer, complete phone system, email management, speed to lead, buyer management, a comprehensive task system, accounting features, and much more. It's like a powerhouse software crafted just for us in the real estate world, eliminating the need for juggling multiple subscriptions and integrations. So check out REsimply if you want to streamline your investing business and start closing more deals. Sign up through REsimply.com/Hartman. That's REsimply.com/HARTMAN. And you'll snag 50% off of your first month. Plus, they're going to throw in a 14-day trial, so don't miss out and give it a look.
All right, Caeden, in this section that we lovingly call
Failing Forward.
We need a three-part harmony here.
Hey, we're going to roll with it, okay? I don't know what Ted was doing with his hands and everything. There's like an opera singer. But we, in this section, we always ask, what happened in your business or life that didn't go according to plan, and what did you learn from it, and that kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, there's been a few times where in the moment I thought, this is pretty catastrophic. What am I going to do from here? Like when I didn't get into my MD, PhD programs, I was like, this is what I've been setting up my entire collegiate career for. What the heck am I going to do now? I'm going to become a poor contractor like my dad and have to work my ass off to make a buck to support my family, because that's certainly not what I want to do. And obviously I'm very grateful for everything that he has given me and the example that he's shown to me. But, I didn't want to have to work as hard as he worked. And then, when I was a contractor, I worked for a few different companies and as a salesman. And it's not a secret that salesmen get stiffed on commissions frequently. And I was no exception to that rule.
So do real estate investors when they use contractors, but yeah.
There's a common denominator there, but learning from those mistakes and using those mistakes to find good people moving forward, right? I learned that you can't just trust everybody. Trust but verify. Use solid contracts. Use proper business practices, and don't just rely on people's word. It's not good enough. You got to actually, make them prove it. And that's what we do every day as public adjusters, right? We don't just believe whatever the insurance company tells us.
Are there any key things that somebody that's going through a hail claim or a storm claim of any type where they're they don't know what to do, but maybe it's not enough to where it makes sense to call in a public adjuster? Mm-hmm. What are some things maybe to watch out for? Maybe some things that you need to make sure and do as a homeowner or property owner?
That's a great question. There's a lot of things depending on what type of claim you have, et cetera. One thing that is always the hardest for me to hear when I'm talking to a prospect is that, well, our adjuster, when he came out, he promised us all this stuff, and he said he was going to include it in his estimate, and he was super friendly and took pictures of all the damage, and we thought we were great. And then 2 weeks later, when they get their letter from the insurance company after it's gone through the meat grinder of their internal claims processing, it comes back with a fraction of what they were led to believe they were going to be paid. And of course, there's no documentation from that original adjuster of what they were promised or anything like that. So the moral of that story is memorialize every conversation that you have with your insurance company.
Meaning document
it. Yeah. So if you're having verbal conversations, record those conversations if you're in a state that allows you to record. If not, take notes, send an email to whoever your claims representative is and say, this is what we discussed. This is, the decisions that were made, the statements made, etc. If I am incorrect here, please respond and correct my statements. And that gives you at least a record of what was said, what was promised, etc. Because I can't rely upon just your memory about what was promised 6 months ago and have any effective use of that in the claim, right?
So you're saying that a policy owner should wear a wire at all times and lean really closely toward the adjuster.
I wouldn't
they're
discourage
invading their
it.
Personal space.
I wouldn't discourage it. There's one of our adjusters that wears a body cam to every inspection he goes to.
You're kidding me.
Nope.
Wow.
It protects him just as much.
It does. Yep. It does.
Plus, if you get in any cool fights, you can upload it to YouTube or Instagram and make some
World
extra
Star.
That's why our YouTube hasn't blown up yet.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah. So document everything is the gist of that.
Document everything. Any other random things coming to mind?
Read your policy.
How do you know what you're like? What are some things that maybe some amateurish mistakes, especially for real estate investors, that they maybe fall prey to when they're getting a policy? What should they not be doing that they are?
Speed round here. Getting actual cash value policies instead of replacement cost value policies. Not only are you leaving the depreciation on the table, but there's a whole lot of statutory benefits in most states that are only applicable to replacement cost value policies. So not only are you leaving depreciation on the table for a tiny reduction in your premium, but you're also allowing the insurance company to get away with a lot of other stuff, like matching, for example. Matching, roofing, siding, carpet, all that kind of stuff. That requirement only applies to replacement cost policies. So if you have an ACV policy, the insurance company doesn't have to match your siding or roofing or anything like that. In Nebraska and Iowa, a few other states, but
I didn't know that.
yeah, so that's one example. Not having code coverage if you have an old building, right? I mean, if you have knob and tube wiring and you don't have code coverage, you're stupid. Because when you have a fire or anything that requires you to dig into wiring, and the city or county or whoever comes in and says you have to replace all your wiring, your insurance company is going to go, sorry, not covered.
I'm dealing with this right now. Code, what is it? Code and
Ordinance and law, it's most commonly
ordinance and
called.
law. Yeah, ordinance and law coverage. It's usually a rider on the policy, right?
Yep.
Or a part of the policy. But yeah, you definitely have to look at that, because like we have a commercial property where we have a $300,000 cap on the ordinance, the code and ordinance. Is that
Ordinance and law.
Ordinance and law. Thank you. And that's. And the big wild card there is the city going to make you rewire the whole building?
Yep.
Are they going to make you sprinkler it? Are they going to make
never know.
you put fire alarms in? And those are all things that happen after the fact, and you may not know that you would need those eventually. It's something you do. So I'm bringing this up because this is exactly why it makes sense to follow your advice on this, because you're seeing claims that, because I'm going to real world this. When I first started investing in real estate, I got quotes from State Farm because that's who my carrier was. I had my home policy and my car policy with them. And so I was like, well, I'll just see what they can do for, flips and rentals and all that. So that's who I used. And this is not a bash on State Farm by any means. I still have a lot of my policies. But nobody really explained what you just did. It was like I would call in and they'd be like, okay, what do you need? And they asked me some questions, and then I'd get a policy issue, or here's your quote. I'd bind it. And what in my mind was happening was I was saving money because I got the actual cash value policy, the ACV. And it's usually like you can probably save, I don't know, 15%, 20% maybe on your premium amount. And that, to me in my head, that was like, oh, I'm saving this money and I can probably find a cheap roofer to do XYZ roofing job if I get a hail claim. And I can probably actually save money overall. And I'm still not convinced that I actually won't be able to, but I'm hard to change. But replacement cost, I can tell you from going through some really substantial claims that replacement is a huge difference than ACV, especially when you get into larger dollar amounts.
Yeah.
It's
and especially when you know how to
difference.
work the claim.
Yeah.
Right. You can get major upside in an RCV policy if you know what you're doing.
Yeah.
Major upside.
The deal I took over, it had an ACV policy in place, but the seller had an RCV policy requested and had it all documented and was quoted an RCV policy, but the insurance agent put an ACV policy in. And
wouldn't be the first time I've heard of something like that.
And he has everything documented too.
Yeah.
And so he's like, well, I was told to get through this claim and then move forward and then potentially look at going after the E&O. Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Well, those are some really good tips, actually. Like, the insurance is such a murky world a lot of times, and there's stuff that you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
And like I've been doing this for almost 20 years now, the real estate investing, and there's stuff that I'm learning literally this week about insurance that I had no idea about.
Yeah.
None.
The sales and marketing side of insurance
Yeah,
is
it's
so
so
different
different than
from the
claims.
claim side.
Yes.
Completely.
Yeah. So do your homework. If anybody takes anything away from this episode, it's that like review your documents, and if you are not able to like suss out the things that are important in there, have someone that knows that stuff look at everything before you bind it and put it into place, and know what you're doing when it comes to claims. And like Caeden said, it makes sense a lot of times to have somebody that's in your best interest looking into the claim for you, as opposed, it's kind of like a buyer's agent versus a seller's agent.
Yeah.
I know we were talking about wholesalers making weird analogies here, but
Yeah.
like you want to have somebody that has your fiduciary best interest in mind.
Right. And agents don't. A lot of people think agents do.
Well,
Agents
I mean,
work for the insurance companies.
The old joke I've always heard is like, what's the first thing that a claims department does? Deny. Like you have a rubber stamp, deny.
Delay,
like,
deny, defend.
Yeah. Yes.
Those
right.
are the three words.
So anyway, just make sure you have you get several sets of eyes on your documents when it comes to insurance. and you're going to be much better off than somebody that just rubber stamps a policy and like you're like, whatever, I just need to bind coverage and move on. You'll probably come to regret it later if something happens. So, okay, cool, man. Well, we've got one more segment in our episode called
The OT with Owen and Ted,
where we fire some questions at you. Same ones every week.
Rapid fire.
And we're going to start with this bad boy. You ready for this?
I don't know.
What's your first book going to be titled or about?
Maybe a travel book. That way I get to go travel everywhere. Is that fair?
Sure.
Yeah.
Have
Give
you
me an
done much
excuse.
traveling?
Not as much as I would like to.
Okay.
But I love to.
So with this travel book, he will.
Exactly.
It's like a coffee table book about coffee tables.
I'll be your photographer.
Perfect.
Yeah, there we go. You need lots of
I'd
pretty
be
photos.
careful. His background's
Are
at
you gonna be
OmahaNightlife.com. He might catch you in some compromising positions and use it for blackmail. I'm just saying.
That never happened.
It's out there.
If you could interview anyone in the world today and it's your podcast, who's it going to be? And what's the one question you want to ask them?
Do they have to be alive?
Yes.
Oh.
I know. I don't know what his hang up is on that.
Because maybe it's somebody good that I want to interview.
I don't know. I'd probably interview like some innovator or someone at the top of their market, like Warren Buffett or Elon Musk or someone like that.
We would really like to get Warren in here.
Yeah.
So if you got an in on him.
Same.
Go adjust one of his claims and get back to us. Okay.
No, I adjust against his companies, Geico, Berkshire.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Who would deliver your eulogy, and what legacy do you hope you leave behind?
See, this is a tricky one because everyone that I would want to deliver my eulogy, I don't want to, die before them, It's like my parents or my wife, I don't want to die before them. That would not be fun. But
Then you don't have to go to their funerals.
well,
So
yeah,
there's a win there.
selfish. I'm trying to, not be selfish here. So I don't have a good answer for that one.
It's a hard pass.
Yeah, hard pass. I don't know. I truly
Reject it.
don't.
Future children.
Future children.
Yeah.
Well, that's a cop out too.
What's the one wildest thing you've ever found at a property, or the wildest thing you've ever seen at a property?
So my dad was basically a slumlord, so I've seen a lot of stuff.
What's the one thing that stands out? There's no limits.
Oh, I've seen all sorts of needles, of every type, shape, and size. Bloody hammers. That's probably the top one. A
Bloody hammers?
bloody hammer. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Huh.
I always go back to, every time somebody mentions drugs, I always go back to Nate Dennis saying that he found the crystal ball of crystal meth.
Yeah. That's right.
He's like, he was like crystal ball size.
Yikes.
All right, you're still up. You kind of threw a different random question in there.
What mentor in your life has had the biggest impact on you?
That's also a difficult one.
You got to answer some of these questions. You
know.
can't cop out all.
Yeah, come on. You're
I've
like
been
an
thinking about 'em for
uncooperative criminal that we were questioning here.
Yeah, well, never talk to the police. No, there's been a few people. Obviously my parents, I think, raised me really well, and I'm grateful to them for that. In the business sphere, my partner here at Swift, before we started Swift, he was, one of the straight shooters of the contractors, and he's been an awesome business mentor and partner. Then there's been a few other public adjusters that have been doing things a lot longer than I have, that I always call up when I run into something new.
How many people are in your company?
Right now, about 15.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Growing up pretty big.
Well, it was a lot bigger during the Durate show about 4 years ago.
Oh, yeah. Eastern Iowa.
That was wild.
Yeah. I bet.
That was like these tornadoes times 50.
No kidding.
Yeah.
So that's worse, huh?
Way worse. Not as severe.
Because it affects everything, right?
Correct.
There's not just centralized inside of a funnel,
Yeah.
right? It's
I think
like,
State Farm had like 55,000 claims out of that storm. So,
dude.
Yeah.
I did
Wonder why
not know
your rates
that.
keep on going up.
Why? Yeah, right.
no, that's the bonuses they're paying.
Okay. What can someone
Mahomes.
do that's anybody listening to this episode that maybe wants to connect with you, or maybe is there anything you're looking for in your business right now? Are you hiring anybody, anything like that, that someone catching this might be able to help out?
Yeah, I mean, we're always hiring talented people. I'm a strong believer in finding good people and making a seat for them. So if anybody's interested in the claim business, or in the real estate business for that matter, you can reach out via my website, swiftpublicadjusters.com, hurricanehomebuyers.net.
swiftpublicadjusters.com.
That's right.
And what was the other one?
hurricanehomebuyers.net.
Hurricane Home Buyers. Okay.
Yeah.
And even though you haven't bought any homes that are been hit by hurricanes.
That's true. Yeah.
I mean, I like the foresight.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of is a little bit of an alliteration there.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah,
I
love
thought
it.
of stuff. Nothing else really worked.
Well, Caeden, first off, thanks for being a valued member of our group. You're one of those faces that we do see every month at our local meetup group, so I always appreciate it, and I appreciate the knowledge bombs that you've been dropping today. The public adjuster field has, there's some cloud behind it, and, there's not a lot of people that are speaking highly, so the fact that you've come up highly, and before I even started working with you, just for full disclosure, I actually went and checked all your reviews.
Oh boy!
And really, there wasn't much negative at all in there. So
he had 1 4-star review, just
Yeah.
like us.
Devastating.
No, I'm kidding.
But I mean, I compared and I looked at other adjusters, and it wasn't the same way. So that's what I'm getting at with that. So I appreciate that. Appreciate your support. Appreciate you taking time to come on to here and get a little vulnerable to say that you have no tenants in your houses.
Yeah.
So maybe next time we talk, you'll be able to give us some feedback and say that you're renting some of them out, got some income coming in.
That's the goal, eventually.
Well, if you listen to the first time or the 122nd time, please give us a review on your favorite format, preferably a 5-star review. We love the fact that we're at a 5-star review in all of our formats, I think, right now.
Boom.
But
Suck it, Mr. 4-star.
Mr. 4-star. I just hope that 4-star person listens and just laughs every time that we talk about him. But with that, Owen Dashner, we see us out.
On behalf of Ted Kaasch, REIA Radio, and Dennis Bertrand, I'm Owen Dashner, and you've been listening to Caeden. Negative DSCR is my jam. Tinklenberg. Signing off.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, that's a good one. Thank you.
Yeah.
Whoever is listening to this, we never, ever, ever start on time. Ever. Okay? We have to plan better.
Yeah.
So,
Well, you're the one who changed the time. I was playing just fine.
I was here at 2. Where were you?
There's no way you said. You said 3. You put 3 in the counter. I have it on the counter for 3. In the counter.
Was I here?
I mean, I
You
got
walked
here
in
at
at
2:40.
I was literally just hanging out having sandwiches because I thought you wouldn't be here till 3. Because you said
was here
3.
too.
You said 3.
I did say 3.
Yeah. You should have told me.
I'm not a just-in-time kind of a guy, dude. I arrive when I say I'm going to arrive.
Okay. Well, I just went and got a sandwich.
Well, get better.